someone comes knocking on my door. I got this girl out in the car, and I think you might know how to help her. Come outside, look in the car, it's my student. I had no idea that kids were being sold on our streets. And then people were getting choked and raped, and nobody was coming. I thought there were all these resources. I thought people that would help if a kid had that happen to them. And I found out, no, like there's all this red tape. When I see people that are laying on the side of the road, homeless or trafficked, I just feel like I'm their mom and that they need me to respond and care for them.
We believe that the next wave of innovation is innovation in the area of social impact.
We want to try to bring awareness about the incarcerated.
A huge number of people are currently homeless simply because they cannot get legal help.
A safe place where they can get set free.
There's no hack for human connection.
Codependency is an addiction.
Do not try to do this big thing at once. Start with a little.
When you're searching for the gold, you will get back so much more than you ever thought possible.
So what do you think? The ball's in your court. Welcome to the Innovat Podcast, powered by Geo. We're here in the beautiful House of Web3 in the Presidio in San Francisco, in the heart of Silicon Valley. And I'm your host, Ted Haas. I'm here with my dear friend, Vanessa Russell, who's the founder and CEO of Love Never Fails. And I have the honor of being on the board. I tell my friends, I tricked her into the honor board.
You did.
No, it's a tremendous honor, and it's great to be able to support you and partner with you.
Yeah.
So why don't you give a little introduction? What is Love Never Fails?
Well, we are really started in the Bay Area, but now we're serving people across the nation that are addressing or experiencing poverty and or human trafficking and or domestic violence and a variety of challenges, right? And barriers to employment, barriers to living a safe and empowered life. But I'll just say that we started as an organization that addresses human trafficking 13 years ago. After one of my 15-year-old dance students stopped coming to class, I was working in tech and volunteering as a dance teacher.
What was your role in tech?
So I was, my last role was a global senior sales leader for Cisco Systems.
So you were already, that was out of the ordinary.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But for me, it wasn't, because I went to McAteer School of the Arts in San Francisco. I was, into dance, and I had an album out that, I sang at Passan's Lounge and Jeffrey's Inner Circle. And I had, a lot of music in me that was just sitting there waiting to kind of find youth and help youth connect to their pain and help youth to hopefully experience some healing was my goal while I was working in the tech role. Let's get some kids dancing. Let's get some kids connecting with music and the arts. Let's have some fun together. Let's do it on a Friday night. That was my plan, Ted.
Yeah. So, that's one of the things that is so inspiring. You had made it out of the ghetto. You had
That's
quite
right.
a hard life yourself.
Yes.
And you were a success. You were
Yeah.
uber successful in that sense from where you'd come from.
Oh, yeah.
But it wasn't enough for you. You wanted to give back, and not just a token,
No.
really give back.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think for me, it's interesting because I never intended to be financially well off. That was never a goal of mine. I just wanted to provide. I was a single mom, early on of one son who I had at the age of 23. I'm a former foster child. I was abused and lived homeless with my mom, going from state to state when I was a baby, landed here in San Francisco at 2 years old, and was raised in the Mission District and then in the Fillmore District. And, it was rough. And so you talk about food scarcity. I won't say we didn't have food, but I know what government cheese is, Ted. So let's just put it that way. And so there was a lot of challenge coming up, but I had no relationship with God at that time. I was just into school and the arts, music and school. And that was my jam. And I decided that I would kind of focus there, and landed me in college, but I had no one to pay for college. So I had to work full time while being a mom for 10 years to get my bachelor's degree.
Wow.
And then right after that, I had an amazing encounter with the Lord, gave my life to Him just before turning 30. And then it was like something happened. You said, you gave back. That's what happened. It's like, oh, I want other kids to feel what I'm feeling right now. I want them to have hope.
Wow.
I want them to not feel like nobody cares about them, because I knew all my girls and all my friends and all these kids in school that were being molested and, beaten and everything else like I was. And they were still out there hurting. So said, let me go out and get some kids that have that same experience like me, teach them dance while I'm working in tech. And that'll be what I do to give back.
Wow. Then you got ambushed.
Then I got ambushed. Yeah, then my students stopped coming. I thought, oh, well, she's just lost interest. And then a few months later, I'm teaching a 12-step recovery class. Someone comes knocking on my door and says, I got this girl out in the car, and I think you might know how to help her. Just feel like God was telling me that you're the one who's going to know how to help her. Come outside, look in the car. It's my student. I'm like, whoa, where did you find her? Oh, I found her off of East 14th. She was barely wearing anything. I went and got her some clothes. I go and pull her in the coffee shop, and we're like talking. She's like, yeah, I've been raped. I've been beaten. I've been choked. And she's smiling. I'm like, what is this? It was such a surreal experience to sit there with her, this precious baby who was so smart, who had first of all, I was completely naive. Like, when I was growing up, I knew about prostitution, and they were down on Broadway. That's what we knew in school. They were down on Broadway, and they were older ladies, and they wanted to be in that. They were on drugs. Those were the myths that I had in my mind. I had no idea that kids were being sold on our streets, in and out of cars all night long. This was just, what? And then people were getting choked and raped, and nobody was coming. I guess I thought that police would come. I thought there were all these resources. I thought there was all, people that would help if a kid had that happen to them. And I found out, no, there's all this red tape. There's all these challenges. There's not enough resources. There's no houses for people to go to.
I had a similar experience with that. Our mutual friend, Albert Wright.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were at some event, and he was going to drive me home. It went really late. We were working there. And then, Albert loves to sound his shofar. He loves to go on prayer drives.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be, a spiritual guy. It was
like,
late.
Whoa, what are we doing here?
I just wanted to go home, and he wants to go on his prayer drive. I'm like, well, if he's driving, He drives me down not far from my house. Uh-huh. This was in South San Jose on Monterey.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah.
And I'm half asleep, and then he sounds his shofar, and I wake up. I'm like, wow, I wonder why those young girls are out on the street.
Yeah,
and then it suddenly hit me. And it just really broke my heart,
Mm-hmm.
I'm so unaware of this. I've lived in the Bay Area. I've been in nonprofit work. I have been inspiring others to go take care of the city. And how was I not aware of just down my street, there's these young girls out there. And it is probably far worse.
Oh, yeah.
Now.
Yeah, no. We used to go up and down Monterey and walk, and, it's actually not worse in San Jose right now in terms of people being out on the street. It's moved online for the most part in San Jose. So I think San Jose has done this sort of cover up the blight thing where, let's push it away and tuck it away. But I think you have a lot of trafficking of undocumented people going on in San Jose. A lot of labor trafficking, a lot of sex trafficking. It's not so much on the Blade in Monterey like it used to be, but it's in hotels inside of there, the motels that are all up and down Monterey. In Oakland, it's open market. You're going to see, 20, 40 girls out there on any given night. And now with the passing of bills like SB 357, even in the middle of the day, in front of schools, in front of churches, you're going to see it all over the place. And then the encampments have survival sex going on throughout them. So if you take time to get to know people, you'll notice that there's a girl that's getting passed around, or a group of girls and guys that are getting passed around throughout the encampment. And they're only allowed to stay there because they service everyone in the encampment. So, and we're living in a time where there's all this progressive thought about, we don't like the carceral system. I don't either, right? The carceral system, the way it's designed, it's not designed to restore people, right?
Carceral system, okay, yeah.
Jails, yeah. So I agree. I happen to agree that the way that jails are designed is really not with the restorative model in mind. Like it right here, we see that there's like these beautiful plants right by us, and there's light coming in, and there's things that inspire. It would be nice if prisons had things like that made people feel more human, allowed them to breathe and be, get in touch with things that maybe they've never experienced their whole life because they've been living in adverse childhood environments, right? But that aside, what we've done is we've rotated all the way over here where it's like no one's going to be separated from society. So everybody just has free run. Everybody can be buying sex, everybody can be selling.
You have a real legit problem, but then the solution adds another. The solution is the wrong solution, and it further propagates the problem. And one of the premises of this whole Innovate movement that you've been a part of from the beginning is that every problem you see, whether it's human trafficking or homelessness, particularly in America, there's an underlying problem that we love to fight.
Yeah.
And so we turn it into a political fight, and the discourse, whether it's political discourse or any discourse at all, is very fragmented and is broken down into our base tribal instincts. So you go online, you look at the media, no one's talking across the board, and both sides have legitimate points. No one's 100% right, and no one's 100% wrong. And we never talk to people on the other side. If we pretend to talk to them, they're just a prop.
Right.
We're talking to a small interest group. We want them to vote for us. They want us to give them our attention. They want us to, buy our ads or whatever. And this underlying problem is this toxicity that stops us from solving the other problem.
Yeah.
So we've got to calm down, learn, take a big dose of humility.
Yep.
And then learn from the people who are actually doing it.
It's funny. I was at a board meeting just before I came here, and there was a discussion about how we have we started to become more diverse in this board. Not Levenherfeld's board, but another board that I'm on. And they talked about how they got all their assets, and they converted the assets into Spanish, because they wanted to reach the Hispanic community, the Latino community. They used Google Translate. And so somebody came and said, hey, I can't share this with my people because Google Translate is not culturally competent and does not understand that this word does not mean that word. And in fact, the scenarios that you've put down here, like one of the scenarios that was shared was that, this so-and-so, Juan, has owned his farm for the last 40 years. So they took a scenario that is very unlikely in our country and applied it onto a black man and put the black man on the flyer with that scenario. They didn't take the time to actually interview a black man about his financial experience. Well, at least you're on the board, so. Yes. Well, here's the thing. I got to applaud the board for even wanting to do that and appreciate them. Yeah. Their approach was not very thoughtful, and it didn't really, it wasn't culturally competent, and they missed the part about inviting people such as myself and others that have had these experiences into the conversation, but they had the right heart. to want to do it.
Okay.
So that to me is this humility that you're talking about, where it's like, I see that you're trying to lean in to this. I appreciate you doing that. I'm trying to lean into you and what you're saying. And somewhere in here, we're going to learn each other better. And we're going to come out with a better outcome.
That's a very good word. Many people look at me as, and I've been used in many contexts to build bridges to, cross cultures.
Well, you can reach.
I can reach,
reach over.
But it's been out of building relationships, screwing up. Like things I'm embarrassed about that I'm not going to share that I did, that I'm just totally unaware of.
Yeah.
But having a relationship that's strong enough.
Yeah.
Mama Nancy.
Yeah.
She'll just, tolerate me.
Yeah.
And then it's strong enough that she can tell me stuff that's really hurtful. That would be hurtful if I didn't if I didn't trust in how much she loves me.
That's right.
But then instead of running away, you learn.
That's right.
And to me, it's like.
And I think we have that same
absolutely.
connection.
And
so
for me,
valuable.
it's like, what helps me is like when I was playing basketball, I didn't want my coach to come in after the game. I didn't want him to come tell me everything I did good. Mm-hmm. It's great. I have high goals. I wanted to tell him what I did wrong. Mm-hmm. Then I can grow.
Yeah.
And if we have a vision, if we have a growth mindset, and we can embrace that thing, we can embrace that growth, then we have relationships that cover our blind spots and help us grow.
Yeah.
And that's so important.
It is.
So let's get back to the story of Love Never Fails. It started with you having your wake-up call, your baptism with your student. Mm-hmm. And then tell how it grew from there. Yeah,
so for the first 5 years, it was a grassroots organization. We'd go out and do street outreach, trying to reach people on streets like Monterey, in San Francisco off of Cap, in Tenderloin, in Oakland off East 14th, 23rd in Richmond, and just every place that had a Blade, we'd go there. Blade is a place where people are sold, or a track, or a street, right, where people are sold, and we would walk up and down there and give out these bracelets that say "You are loved" on them with our number in them, and we would love on them. And many people reached out daily for prayer after that. Many people we actually rescued multiple girls that had just been beaten and said, so and so, somebody just beat me, and we sent security team over there to get them out. So we were cowboying it in the very beginning. We don't do that as much anymore, but we definitely have learned what is possible for the that song, "What You Won't Do for Love," that rings through my ears all the time, because there are things that we will do for our own children, for our own loved ones, that we won't do for any other reason. And for me, for whatever reason, God has given me a mama's heart for the people that are in the street. And when I see people that are laying on the side of the road, homeless or trafficked or jobless or broken, I just feel like I'm their mom, and that they need me to respond and care for them. And so, anyway, so a bunch of us crazy folks went out there for about 5 years. And what happened was, right around year 5, we were doing education in the schools, just a bunch of stuff. And people kept saying to us, we come out of the street, we come out of this life if you had a house. So that's when we stopped becoming a volunteer organization and became had employees and things of that nature. And so we opened up our first house. Yeah, we opened up our first house, and we've been, it's been 9 years now. We've housed 300 plus people.
How many homes do we have now?
We have 7 homes now.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. 47 beds. We have homes for women and their children, single women that are pregnant. We've had many babies born in our houses. We have houses for men and their children. We have one man who has 2 baby girls in his house. Oh, it's very interesting, because people are like, why would you put men with children in the house? Turns out men actually love their kids, Ted. Turns out they actually want to be with their children too. And they want to have safe places where their children can live in a family room and have uncles and grandpas around.
Yeah,
it's just, who knew, right?
That's one of the things of our friend Stuart Elliott that he really focuses on, and there's a big bias in our system against dads.
Yeah.
And
especially dads of color.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And we need to stop viewing things that way so we can provide more resources.
Yeah, and waking up the heart. Because at the end, you talked about at the beginning, how is it that we're in Silicon Valley and we have so much resource here and we have the highest levels of food depravity and homelessness and trafficking? Why? Because our hearts are wicked. In the Bible, it's clear. Man is after greed and money and not after loving people and serving people. But anyway, don't get me in here preaching.
Well, I think we can change that. So, the whole premise, another way of looking at it is we used to not have tech innovation here. It's just orchards and whatever. And now we do. Mm-hmm. And I would like to think that the story's not over yet. Mm-hmm. And by the end of our lifetime, we're going to look back and say, oh, wow, we started out innovating in technological areas, but then we realized that was all just a tool and a learning so that we could innovate on the issues that really mean the most and are most important, human flourishing. Absolutely. And we were able to create a world where there is no human trafficking. We're able to create an environment where it does inspire people and help those who provide the resources, those who are inspired, so that they can be better dads, so the families can be restored. And so we, instead of having systemic poverty, we have systemic abundance.
Yes. And I believe it's actually within our reach. I was reading an article yesterday about some predictive modeling that is being done around big data, around substance use disorder. And this big data analytic kind of body of work is looking at, can I predict the rate or the probability that someone will relapse and when they will relapse based on past behaviors. And I thought that is amazing, because if you could tell me that, right now you're feeling yourself, you're feeling good, you're clean and sober, but in 3 months' time, if this happens and that happens, like if you lose a job or you lose a loved one, you have the markers that predict to me that you have a very high chance that you will relapse. Yeah. And so here's how you can safeguard yourself from that relapse. This is technology, right? Yeah. This is innovation that is infused into helping people to keep safe.
So the exciting thing is bringing this technology to those who need it most, because those technologies are already available and being implemented among the wealthy and the elite, Mm-hmm. To me, the exciting thing is bringing it to the portions of our community that don't have access to it. Yeah. And in many ways, you're already modeling that in small ways. But let's talk about your IT Biz Academy.
Yeah. So one of the ways that we have started to kind of create this bridge between the technology community and industry and this underserved and under-resourced community is by creating things like our IT Biz Tech Academy. So as I mentioned, I was in the tech world for many years, 25, 30 years. And I'll tell you, when I first started at Cisco Systems, I was the only woman and the only Black person in 16 states in a management role.
Wow.
And
pioneer.
Yeah, woo, all the time, woo woo, which was painful. And I had to invest a lot of time to teach people things and to deal with people's biases and to help people meet them, like we were just talking about. Okay, tell me where you got that from, or tell me why you translated with Google Translate. Tell me what are you, all of that. So I did that for years and years and years. And I didn't want to expose survivors who have already been through so much to that kind of pain. So I never thought about bridging the two populations. But someone at just the right time said, why don't you create something that invites survivors of human trafficking into the tech world to get educated, to become engineers? And I was like, because I'm afraid that they'll get hurt. And like I did. And I don't know if they could take it. And then I'm like, who am I kidding? They've taken much worse than I am. I have. And so I realized, you know what? This is a fight I'm up for. I'm going to go ahead and break some glass and create IT Biz Tech Academy, and we're going to bridge the two sides of the wall wherever together. And so what we do is we train people for careers in customer service, in project management, and these are family sustaining careers, and project management in as a technician or engineer, as an entrepreneur, or as a salesperson, sales development rep. And so we have actual curriculum. They get certified in AWS and in Google and Cisco and Salesforce, and they come away with either certificates of completion or certifications like CompTIA A+ or Agile Scrum Master and things of that nature.
You also train them in cybersecurity, right?
And we train them in Cisco cybersecurity is one of the pillars. What's beautiful about that is that my students in IT Biz, which is going to be about 300 students this year, they're co-enrolled in Oakland Adult and Career Education, Merritt College, and IT Biz Tech Academy, 3 co-enrollments, and they are able to get college credit for participating in our academy.
So thank you so much for this conversation. Any closing thoughts? And also, how can people find you?
Yeah, well, I just want to thank you, Ted. You are an amazing leader and a friend. And I'm so grateful I'm trying to think who connected us.
Oh,
was it
Morgan?
Morgan,
yes. In
Thank
2020.
You,
In 2020, it was
all
divine
of Morgan's
timing, yes.
connections are
Morgan is a gem. The Bay
dreams.
Area is going to miss her.
Yeah. So, but I want to just thank you for being on our board. Thank you for your innovation in so many different ways. People can get in touch with me by going to our website, loveneverfailsus.com, or emailing me, vanessa@loveneverfailsus.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. So let's solve the world's biggest challenges. That's what Innovate is all about.